Okay, guys, in this video, we are going to go through creating quizzes in D2L. Okay, great quiz feature in here. I've used them plenty of times. Very helpful. Once you get it set up, well, also does all the marking for you. Can import it right into your grades as well. And just a great tool, okay? Especially for multiple choice quizzes. Just a fantastic tool. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab the quiz option. If you haven't changed your menu to look like mine, that's fine. Your quizzes icon would be in your assessments in the pre-programmed menu that is provided to us by the board, okay? In this, you are now in your quiz window and you get to manage your quizzes, which is where we are. And then we're going to select new quiz, okay? In new quiz, this first thing comes up is your properties menu. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to name our quiz, and I'm just going to name it sample quiz, okay? Categories, if you wanted to, categories here work like the categories in the Dropbox, where you can create categories which are traditionally your units or however you organize your course, okay? If you would like to add a category, you could. You could simply add a category and call it something like Unit 1, and there would be all of your quizzes for Unit 1, okay? Down here, you have your description. So if you want to write a description about what the quiz is about, things along the lines of that, you can do that as well. Your page and your header and your footer options, your advanced options, I don't traditionally touch, okay? The next thing you want to do is you want to add and edit your questions, okay? So this is where you go to add questions. If you have questions from somewhere else, you can import them. You could upload a file and try to import them as well. Sometimes it works extremely well, other times it does not. If you're browsing your question library, this is a question library that you have created as well previously, potentially in another course. Or a lot of us are starting from new, we're going to add. So when we select the add tool, what comes up is we have probably a new question, and then you get all sorts of options. You get true, false, you get multiple choice, multi-select, a written response, fill in the blanks, all sorts of things, okay? You can mark these quizzes yourself, or you can pre-program the quiz and the program to mark itself, okay? If you are going to use questions where you want the program to pre-mark it, then I would suggest using your true, false, your multiple choice, or your matching, okay? Matching or ordering, because there's definitive answers there. Sometimes when you get into short answer or written response, if the kids don't key stuff exactly as you write it into the program, it can be marked incorrect, okay? So I would stick to having questions that are 100% right or 100% wrong, such as true, false, multiple choice, matching, or ordering. Okay, so I'll put up some multiple choice. This is what happens here. Here's your question text. All right. In your question text, this is what you are going to write. Now you have the option to format it as well. You can include images. So if you want to look at an image, if you're importing math questions and you're doing trigonometry and you want to import a triangle, you can do that as well. Okay, you can have your equation editor where you write them, and you can write the equations for the people doing math, chem, things along the lines of that, where you might need to write them, okay? So let's just make up a question. So we're just going to type it in here. We're going to put and then you put your answers in here, okay? Now, when you check over here, that's the answer, okay? So you're identifying to the program that this is the answer, and if they select anything else, that would be incorrect, okay? If you want to avoid kids going and sitting around each other and go, hey, the answer to question 1 is A, B, C, D, you can randomize the answer order. Just be careful when you randomize the answer order if you have something such as all of the above, okay? Just because then all of the above might show up in point 2, and it's hard to do all of the above, okay? So just be aware of that, but you can randomize the answer. If you go and you want to change how much it is worth, it automatically defaults to 1 point per question for multiple choice. It's possible that you want to have it more if you would like. Again, it's your quiz, but you would change it there. And then you can click save, and now you have your 1 point question, okay? But you still get the add and the import, so we can have a new question, okay? We can have true or false. So in your question text, you don't necessarily need to write that it's a true or false question because your answer is true or false. So we'll put that in there. You just have to make sure that you select the proper answer, okay? You click save, and everything is good, okay? We'll just go and we'll keep 2 questions here. We're gonna go back to the settings now, and we'll continue on with our menu, okay? In our restrictions, what you can do is it automatically defaults to be hidden from users. You can open this now, or you can do it at a later date, but when you're ready for them to see it, make sure that you make it visible to the kids. Has a due date, okay? If it has a due date, the program will identify to you when it was submitted. If it has a due date, kids would still be able to do the quiz after the due date, okay? If you go has a start or an end date, all right, the quiz will become visible to start date, and then what will happen is kids will not be able to complete the quiz after the end date. So that's the difference between end date and due date. Due date means they'd still be able to do it after the due date. You just get notification that it's late. End dates, you can't, okay? Down here, you can enforce a time limit if you want, all right? And then you can show the clock. So let's say you think they should be done in 20 minutes. You can pump the 20 minutes in there, and it will enforce the time limit. And if they haven't submitted it at that point, it'll just take however many answers they have in there, okay? Careful with this one because, you know, kids get like, okay, the program went out at me, or I had a glitch, or things along the lines of that. So just be careful with the enforced time limit. I don't usually touch the special access. I just wanted to go through that and show you there, okay? In the assessment, you can auto grade it. So as soon as the kids, if you want it auto graded and want them to get feedback, you can click this, and then it's automatically graded to them and to you, and you can see it in either way, okay? Now, if you want to auto export into grades, this doesn't come up because you don't have a grade item. So in the drop-down menu, if you entered the grade via your grades option, it would show up here, or you could add a grade item. If you add a grade item, you could put quiz, sample quiz, I think is the title that we used, however you titled it, usually they should match. You could give it a category. These were pre-made in another video, okay? So your categories would show up. So let's say it's a knowledge and understanding, however many points there is. I think the only points that they could get here would be 2. Default grading scheme is percentage. If you want to hide the grade from them, you could not. And then you would save it out. Once you save it out, now the allow auto export to grades can be selected. So what that means is now that we have it set as graded immediately upon completion, and then allow automatic export to grades. As soon as the kids click submit, it'll show up in the grades. So you do all the legwork prior to the time and don't have any marking at the end of it, okay? If it is a practice quiz, okay, and maybe you don't want to allow export to grades, but you still want to show them what they get, that's fine too. Just don't make a grade item. And if you want them to have more than one attempt, so let's say you're practicing, for an end of the unit evaluation or for your exam, and you just want them to practice it as many times, you can select how many attempts that they get. Traditionally, if you're evaluating it, though, you'd only get one. Okay, and then obviously if you have more than one attempt, you would take the highest attempt. In the objectives, if you wanted to add and associate learning objectives to it, so curriculum expectations, you could. In your submission views, this is important. It defaults to not showing the questions to the kids, okay? So they would get an indication of what they got, but they would have no idea if what they got right or what they got wrong. So if you want to change that, you can add an additional view. Then what happens is you have to name the view. What I usually do is I just give it the same name as the quiz that I'm making, okay? And then down here you have the restrictions. I do not touch these, okay? But this is down here, okay? This is where you would get the ability to give them what they want. So if you wanted to open this up, you could show the questions, and then you could show them what they got on each. You could show them all the questions with their responses. You can show them without. You can give the answers. You can show questions that they answered incorrectly if that's what you want to do. But notice that you only have one option of the circle checks underneath the yes, and then you could actually show both of the check marks, okay? So again, if you want them to see what they answered correctly or incorrectly, you would do it in the view properties, okay? I usually show this what they got wrong. I click save. And then if you wanted to set up a report, you could add a report. I usually don't use this. I just usually auto export into the grades. Then once you save and close, you now have a quiz there. It automatically defaults to hidden. You can change this at any point. This icon indicates that it has a grade item attached to it. You can preview your quiz as well by clicking the drop-down menu, and then you have all these different options available, but you can click preview, and then it'll tell you the instructions, blah, 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 who the user is, the current time, and then when you start your quiz, this is what their quiz would look like, okay? So they would click submit quiz, and then everything is good, okay? So that's quizzes. Again, I try and stick to questions that can be 100% correct or 100% wrong, such as multiple choice, true, false, and matching type things, okay? And as always, if you have any questions, let me know.